How can we attract the man that we deserve?
You literally say, I'm cool with being completely seen, totally emotionally naked. Like, I am willing to show anyone that side of me. That's when you'll start to find the person.
Niko.
Hey.
Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
What is a daddy?
A healthy masculine man can kind of flux in between his masculine and feminine energies.
The most attractive men are the men who are able to unapologetically tap into emotion.
I think the difference between men and women is women are a little bit more invested in this inner journey growth. Men do a lot of suppressing.
I was going after guys that were a mirror to what I was seeking in my family life. You do date your unfinished business.
It's okay to not be perfect and to really be seen for who you are.
What do you think is the biggest red flag that women ignore?
Their inability to really understand when they're being love bombed.
Women have to relearn what a man being obsessed with them looks like.
Yes. A guy who's really intentional about dating is not just going out to the bars every weekend. They're going on dates. A man should mature.
Women are evolving a little bit faster than men are. Women have kind of moved on from looking for just security from men.
Right.
And they're looking for more.
You got to train the dogs. There's 5 topics of conversation within the first 2 or 3 dates you want to talk about.
Give it to us. Once a cheater, always a cheater. What do we think?
I tend to agree.
What is something you feel like men really want women to understand? You're listening to How I See It, hosted by Han. You guessed it, that's me. I am here to motivate and inspire you with guests from all different industries and backgrounds. So get ready for personal stories of success, of growth, full of highs and lows, and of course, unapologetic realness. This is How I See It. You guys, I am very excited because I have Niko Emanuilidis here, the creator behind the Daddy Academy. You've probably seen Niko on your Explore page or your For You page talking about dating, relationships. I thought it was time we brought him on for the girls. We're going to get into dating, relationships, hard truths that women maybe don't want to face, red flags, and what it means to be a daddy. Niko,
Hey.
Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
I'm super excited. I feel like I've been watching your content for so long, and I was like, I have to get this Niko guy on.
Well, I'm glad you did. I'm excited.
Well, we don't really have men on very
Really?
often. I have every once in a while, since I've been in New York, I had one on,
Okay.
but it's very rare.
I've been on a few podcasts where that's been the same sentiment. You're the first boy on the show. I'm like, hey, I'm honored.
You're
honestly.
I'm honored. I'm here
very
for the
honored.
girls.
I'm for the girls.
We need some unapologetic truth. That's a huge mission and core of How I See It is just being your most unapologetic self. And I
Yeah.
think you are very unapologetic and honest.
I am, but I also I think the problem with a lot of people on the internet today is they don't know how to communicate the honest truth to people in a way that people can absorb it.
Yeah.
Right? Because people immediately are getting defensive online because, you have some triggers about your dating life or things going on. So sometimes when people come in really hot with a really intense energy, your point isn't even getting across.
Yeah.
So you got to be a good communicator. And you do this podcast, so I'm sure you're a great communicator too.
Yeah, well, and sometimes it takes someone who's not in your life whatsoever
100%.
to just give you the hard truth. Because
Absolutely.
the amount of times I've told my girlfriend certain things, it's nope, you don't know him. They take it personally, but then someone like you shows up, very charismatic. You're a daddy yourself. You are honest, and you're
Yeah.
look, this is how it is. I'm a guy. This is what I do. This is what I have done, and I'm going to give you the most unapologetic truth.
Yeah, I work with tons of people that will say to me I ran this by my girlfriends, by my woman therapist, but she's I just need the guy's perspective on it. I just need that. And I'm like,
Totally.
oh yeah, there you. That's where I come in.
Okay, for argument's sake, just in case people have not watched your content, what is a daddy to you? What is the definition?
A daddy is a man who is going through life through the lens of love, expansion, positivity. He's naturally a protector, provider. He's giving. He's caring. He's on his purpose and his passion in life, but the lens isn't a selfish lens. It's to better the lives of other people and to care for other people.
Love.
That is, I'd say the most healthy masculine men, because there's a range. We all have masculine and feminine energy within us, right?
Totally.
So a man who is hyper macho, I wouldn't say a hyper macho man is always a daddy. He could be, but I'd say like a healthy masculine man can kind of like flux in between his masculine and feminine energies depending on when it's needed.
Totally.
So it's like that emotional awareness of being able to, tap into that woman brain sometimes when you need to do it, or when you need to lead, you lean a little bit more into like, the masculine side of yourself. But like that's generally speaking how I would describe it. But like, when you're in the presence of somebody like that, you'll know like very, very quickly, right? So I think that's something like trusting your intuition. And if you feel like you haven't met a daddy, then like if you haven't met a daddy in your own personal dating life, I'm sure the husband of a friend of yours, or dare I say, perhaps even your own dad, maybe.
Yeah.
Like use these references as a way to kind of like start to acknowledge like the certain characteristics of what this type of man is, because like I said, it's gonna be very obvious when you come across one.
Totally. I love that you brought up like the masculine and feminine energy thing, because I do think that like as I've gotten older, especially, and like you're dating more seriously and you're working on yourself, you realize that like the most daddy men, like the most like attractive men are the men who are able to unapologetically like tap into emotion.
100%.
And I think a lot of men, to your point, like feel that they have to be like super macho, or they feel they view it as weak to like lean into their feelings.
Right.
And the men that are just like able to show up and actually be honest and communicative while also being able to like go back into their masculine are the most attractive men.
It's about being grounded in your emotions though, right? So like as a daddy energy man, being able to tap into your emotional side and be vulnerable and kind of like live in that world. Because I'm sure a lot of you ladies watching, like you've probably experienced a guy who's hyper emotional. And I always say like a man needs to be the emotional rock of the relationship. Obviously there's times where maybe a guy's going through a hard time and you kind of need to be that for him, only if he's worth being that for. But like, because some people try to do that too early. But generally, like you want the man to be the emotional rock. So if he's leaning into some vulnerabilities and talking about, maybe his anxieties, maybe his depressions, because we all have it, right? So
Totally.
Like men and women, we all have the same problems. Like that's one thing that I've learned doing what I do. We all have the same problems. But if a man is kind of leaning into that space and he feels very like untethered, like he's just kind of like an emotional wreck, that's where there's some like deeper wounds there they got to be careful of. But a healthy masculine man can address, hey, this is where I'm, maybe my shortcomings in life, or this is where I struggle. Dare I say, he could even cry. But there's a difference between a cry coming from like I'm opening up to somebody cry versus I'm like unhinged cry.
Totally.
And I'm sure we've all kind of experienced maybe what that feels like.
Totally. Because I think that, we're all human, right? And
Exactly.
I think at the end of the day, like you can't be a good partner if you're deregulated. And I think you can like really tell the difference between someone who's like, not that you need to be fully healed to date, but I do
no one
think
is.
No.
Right.
Unfortunately, the healing journey never stops.
No, it never ends. That's the part of it.
But like I do think that like you can tell the difference between like a man that's deregulated and a man that's emotional, same as you can probably tell a woman who is like in touch with her feelings and also just deregulated and hasn't worked on herself.
With men, I think the difference between men and women is women are a little bit more invested in this like inner journey growth, where men do a lot of like suppressing. So I think for a man, you want to see a man who's very self-aware.
Yeah.
Self-aware and a little bit proactive perhaps in like how he kind of communicates certain things. But like this is kind of like the journey of a relationship, because I always say like a relationship is the ultimate self-reflection tool. So a lot of people I'll hear, women or someone say like, oh, I don't want a man to come in and disrupt my peace, right? I love my life. But when you're doing that, anyone could be happy in the little bubble of their life when they're not being triggered by anything, right? So sure, sometimes you're in a bad relationship and you're triggered in a negative way. But what's the learning experience there? What can we pull away from that? Always got to look at the positive there. But eventually, if you are saying to the universe, God, however you want to describe it, I want a relationship. I'm ready for that. I'm ready to be vulnerable. I'm ready. You're going to get the guy. You're going to get that healthy masculine guy at some point. And what happens then is the mirror turns right to you.
I know.
And it's all going to come up. So like, are you prepared for that?
Yeah.
So a lot of people kind of unintentionally are actually avoiding the depth of real relationships because they're afraid of that moment but they're not even realizing that they're afraid of it.
That's so good.
Men and women both do this.
Yeah.
I think men kind of know that they're doing it. Women are unaware that they're doing that. That's a big thing.
Women get very like, myself included, because I saw it in my own story too, like they get very like, okay, well, I've addressed that wound. I looked in the mirror about that. Therefore, I figured it out and now I'm healed.
Right.
And I think that's
to
a human
degree,
thing too.
That's the first part.
But a relationship forces you into chapter 2, chapter 3.
Yes.
It forces you to actually implement rather than just like address. And it makes it really, really hard. But I do think there's this weird misconception that you have to heal before you get into a relationship. And I do think relationships are the only thing that gets you into the next couple chapters.
1,000%. I like the way you described it with chapters. Like, yes, the first chapter is you need to be self-aware of what's been going on. I talk about like patterns all the time. So like, what are the patterns in your life that you keep seeing in the relationships and like your relationship to your relationships, right? So like, you kind of got to get very aware of what that is, because we all have a dating pattern of something that we do, or an emotional state that we kind of find ourselves in, whether you're like the fixer, like, oh, I'm always with guys who I need to fix, right? Like a lot of people are like that. Like, where does that come from? Right. So if you're like a fixer, because the thing about doing that is like, oh, I'm always with somebody who's like worse than me, someone who always needs, I need to fix them. Right. So from that, it's kind of like the lens of one, I'm only worthy of love if I do that. Or two, I like that dynamic because they're always the problem. We're not looking at my problems.
Yeah.
But you have to like dive in and figure out what your specific little tendency is, break that up, and then go into dating, choose different types of people and experiment, kind of.
Well, they do say like you do date your unfinished business.
That's a good
I think
phrase.
that's what like I was doing for so long. Like I was going after guys that like were a mirror to like what I was seeking in my family life. Like it was so apparent to me, like after going, and now it's just frustrating because it's just like, because even if you do move forward in your healing, I think there's this misconception that like you're going to stop attracting that. And it's actually more so that like you have to reject it.
You're preaching exactly what I say. Like I say
that.
the exact same thing. The universe is going to keep sending you the same test. Did you learn?
Yeah.
Did you learn? But like they'll perhaps be a little bit better than the past. Like maybe you're not attracting that like toxic narcissist anymore.
Yeah,
but you might attract people a little bit better than that. Like, you know what I mean? But you got to keep rejecting it. Or maybe you might get into a relationship with someone and you're like, oh, he's not as bad as him, but they're the same genre. I did it again.
Yeah.
Went for the same genre of person.
Totally.
So it's like you got to just keep learning and rejecting. As long as the partners that you end up committing to or going out with, you could see an improvement. As like these are getting closer and closer to the North Star of what I'm looking for, then you're dating the right way then.
Yeah.
You know? And the thing about dating as opposed to like, you know, like fitness, for example. Fitness, okay, I got to be in the gym for 6 months to see like good progress, right? Where dating, you kind of get your mindset in the right place. You can meet your person tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? So people who are maybe pessimistic about dating, like the exciting thing is it could literally happen to you tomorrow. But being in that mindset of understanding that will keep you fun and having a good time with the process, so you're not getting pessimistic and you're actually able to attract that person. So it's like this kind of cycle.
Okay, so you probably get this all the time.
Yeah.
What makes you qualified to talk about this stuff? And I say that like jokingly.
Yeah, no.
Because I feel like, so this is a mental health podcast, like
Yeah.
a healing. And I'm assuming that like all of this is rooted in like your own healing journey when it comes to like your own wounds and dating.
Yeah, 100%. I think, so I'll give you a little bit of the backstory.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, talk about like school all the way back to like high school, right?
Love. Where are you from?
Westchester County, over
Okay,
here.
cool.
Yeah. I wasn't Mr. Ladies, man. I won class clown in high school. So like I had a good personality. I was charismatic. I was friends with everybody. I was like the kid who jumped between friend groups, friends with everybody.
Totally.
I was a band geek, but I was also playing basketball and football. But I had no idea how to talk to women. I had no idea. I was always asking my friends, like, what do I say? I didn't have my first girlfriend till like after high school. So very much like a late bloomer in that way.
That's how I was too. I feel like all the cool people were losers.
I think so too. I had my first relationship, and that lasted for like 1.5, 2 years. Good first relationship. You know, we a lot of firsts with each other, and it was great. But after that, I'm still like, oh well, I still really don't know. like I kind of fell into that one, but like I don't really know. So I started watching like dating content at that time to kind of like learn about dating, right? And I grew up like my parents are still together after 30 something years. We have a very Like if there's a problem in our household, like we're sitting at the kitchen table, like say I'm going through a breakup, my sister's going through a breakup. We sit at the kitchen table and we talk about it for
Oh, that's good.
2 hours.
Wow.
Like it's like one of those types of situations. And even like rewinding even earlier on in my childhood, because I think this kind of created this kind of tendency in me. My sister had a bunch of operations from the ages of like 3 to 6. I'm like 4 years older than her. So my childhood was kind of in a lot of ways rooted in like taking care of my little sister. She's totally fine now. She had like a cyst in her bone of her leg, so she was in like body casts and whatnot. So I was naturally always like, oh, we gotta take care of Alexis. And I was like sitting and playing Barbies on her little cast on her leg. So I think I naturally developed taking care of people and empathizing with people. And that was just kind
Well,
of.
it sounds like your parents created like a really good
did.
environment for that. It sounds like you guys were very
They did. And I always
communicative.
say that my dad is in like the cult of my mom. Like that's like the relationship that they have. Like he's obsessed with her. So then coming out of my relationship, started, hitting the gym. I played college basketball, working on myself and kind of that way, learning about women, and just I was always a relationship oriented guy. So like I would be in a relationship, maybe single for a year, another relationship. That one, single for a year, another relationship. So just like through that journey of being just like a relationship oriented person, like I became good at understanding male-woman dynamics because I was essentially studying it throughout this entire time. I just found it fascinating. So my friends started being like the ones that would come up to me and ask me questions about stuff. My sister, her friends. I kind of became the person in my circle that everyone would kind of go to. But I've always known that I wanted a platform where I'm helping people, entertaining people. Like when I was young, I'm like, I want to be on TV. Like I'm a rock star. I'm famous. Like I always like knew I was meant to not sit at a desk and do some like job. I knew I was meant to do something different. That being said, I got laid off from every corporate job that I ever had.
The universe was like, not for
This
you.
is not for you, not for you. And I think this is important for people, like in any sort of direction. Like the universe, God will push you in directions if you kind of listen. And then about 2022? About 3 years ago, 2023, I'm like, all right, I'm making the page. And the Daddy Academy was just like a joking name that I made with my friends. Like I would be going on dates like years ago. And I'd be like, what's up, boys? Daddy Academy. We're hitting biceps today. And then we're going out with Jessica tonight. Like that's how it started.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was like an unhinged group chat.
It was like a bro.
Yes, it was a bro thing.
Okay.
And but it was funny. And I'm all about branding. I'm like, oh, that's a great name. Like, it's actually a great name, right?
Yeah.
It's funny.
It was like jokey.
It was jokey. So then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start the page. I'm gonna call it the Daddy Academy. Fuck it, let's see what happens. But when I made the page, I did it because I wanted to help young men like myself, good kids, and just trying to find themselves.
Yeah.
So I started posting for like 6 months, trying to help young men or whatever. But there's like the internet, whatever. It wasn't sticking. I got like 2,000 followers. Nothing was really going on. And then my sister was like, Niko, why don't you make a video for women? I'm like, all right, not a bad idea. I made one video for women. I'm like, what does it mean to be like a daddy energy man? Went viral. And I just kept answering, of course. I just kept answering women's questions. And then I kind of looked at it like, if this is going to be something I'm going to do for the rest of my life, the men are going to come, right? Even as I become more of like an OG and develop in my life, with have a family, this and that, like I will get the male audience that I was always after. But right now, it just felt like there was a gap in the space for a man talking to women and providing that hope and that perspective. So I kind of just took it as a sign of like, this is what I'm meant to be doing right now. So I kind of just continued doing it. And like, so now it's been the last 3 years and I love it. It's been awesome.
So cool. And like what I immediately thought of is like something that like I talk with my girlfriends about, and you can tell me if you agree or not, is that like I feel like right now in this current moment, like women are evolving a little bit faster than men are in the sense of women don't need men anymore for security. Like times have shifted. They have careers, they're building businesses. So like women have kind of moved on from looking for just security from men.
Right.
And they're looking for more, which is like emotional availability and maturity and doing the work. And I think men, and to no fault of their own, have been like raised to only care about protection, security, whatever. So they lack this like evolution in emotional availability. So I think a lot of the work you do is kind of like walking women through the standards they need to have so that men eventually kind of like get with the program and like step up in the ways they need to.
Exactly. I said the phrase I like to use, you got to train the dogs.
Love.
Right? You got to train the dogs. But like, you can't be focused on what the general population is doing. Focus on your own life, the patterns that you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Because like, if you keep rejecting, nope, eventually the person's gonna come.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna get that. But I do agree with you. I think men are a little bit like lagging in that side of the emotional intelligence, intuitiveness. Like they're just, but that's something that I kind of think a guy has or he doesn't have it. So that's
Totally.
even more of like, I can't train a man to be more emotionally intuitive, more caring, more considerate. Yeah, I mean, I could tell him like that's probably a better way to be. But if that's not really their nature, it's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of men that are like that. And I think
And maybe haven't been empowered to like lean into it.
that's more of what it is, because there's another dynamic on top of this, right? There's attraction. What are you attracted to? So women say that they want this emotional blah, 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 which is all great. And they do want that, but they want it wrapped up in the package of someone who's very attractive.
Yeah.
And what is attractive? Attractive usually are the traits of the fuckboy,
Yep.
right? So a guy who's a little bit more of like take it or leave it attitude, a little bit more, you could tell he has options by the way he communicates, someone who's not like needy, where like for men, the kiss of death is being too needy. Every man has lost a woman who he's been crazy about in his life by being a little too much in that way because he wasn't grounded in what makes him attractive. So there's this dance of the early stages of dating that a man has to go through to learn how to do that perfectly. And that's what I feel like I perfected. So that's why, like when I'm describing a daddy energy man, that is a man who could be a reformed fuckboy in some cases, could be a guy who,
I always say that.
Yeah.
Like, I need to find like the ex fucked up person.
or a guy who has the ability to be that. Everyone has dabbled in casual things in their life. So it's like maybe has dabbled in it, but ultimately realizes I don't like that.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe, I did it a few times. I don't really like it that
Like
much.
I grew up.
I grew up. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're looking for a guy like that who has the energy of the fuck boy in the positive ways. It's that grounded, confident energy, but still has the emotional side and wants relationship. So like when I tell women when they're going on dates, like early on, you want to ask like, what are you looking for? I always say that there's 5 topics of conversation within the first 2 or 3 dates you want to talk about.
Give it to us.
Family.
Okay.
You want to learn about someone's family and their upbringing, right? We're not always going to judge someone based off of that, but let's say, for example, Niko, I'm always with guys, and the pattern I see is like they have a horrible relationship with their father. Hey, you know what? Maybe we have to vet really intensely for that. And it's going to feel kind of weird cutting someone off because of that, but do you want to keep playing roulette with your life, or do you want to make that a little bit more of a safer choice? I'm not saying you can't see something through, but it's something to note and then see if you see the same pattern. That's why we want to look back and have a really good idea of what went wrong in past relationships in different stages to see if this follows that same sort of trajectory.
As someone who grew up in like a very like chaotic household, and like I do think like that is an insecurity of mine. Like if I open up about that, people will be like, oh God, this girl's a red flag.
Sure.
But I do think the way you can tell is like, is there anger behind it? Like, can you
Yes.
tell?
It's the emotion behind
yeah,
the conversation.
Like, can you tell if someone's worked through it or if they're like still in the midst of that?
Some of the most healed people, or like emotionally intuitive healed people, are people that came from really dysfunctional households
Totally.
because they were forced to be the one to kind of manage relationships and hold the peace.
Hypervigilant.
Yeah. But I would say men and women are different. I think a woman can more than likely do that, where a man, like I said, a lot of suppression.
Totally.
So the way he talks about his dysfunctional household you need to really feel good about that energy, and you're gonna keep talking about it.
Totally.
But like I would say, women are a little bit better at internalizing that and growing up from it and learning versus men off the bat. 2, friendships. Who's your best friend? Ask him again, who's your best friend? And let him kind of go down the list of his best friends. Like if you're going to ask me, who's your best friend? Like, oh, Dan, I've been friends with him for 25 years. We were neighbors growing up. I'm actually going to his bachelor party tomorrow.
Wow.
In Miami.
25 years.
25 years. My neighbor growing
insane.
up. He's marrying one of my best girlfriends from college. That like I set them up. My other best friend, we are roommates in college, Azriel, he's married to his wife, and they have a baby. My other friend, Alex, he's married with a baby. From that, what can you infer about me?
You're a good person who values relationships.
I'm surrounded by other men who are in serious committed relationships.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not gonna, like I said, we're not gonna totally judge somebody if his friends are all single, but if your audience is between 30 and 40 years old mostly, right? Like, and the guy's 35 and his friends aren't married, none of his friends are married, it's something to know. What is he doing on the weekends? What's his social life like? It's important to kind of have a good idea of what that is, just so we kind of know what we're getting into. a man should mature, right?
Totally.
So like shouldn't be going out even when I was single, like I'm not going out every weekend. Maybe I'll go to a baseball game with my friends, maybe. But like a guy who's really intentional about dating is not just like going out to the bars every weekend. They're going on dates.
Yeah.
They're scheduling dates or they're at the gym.
Like they're trying to make something happen.
They're trying to make something happen. And occasionally you go out and have some fun.
Yeah.
Past relationship and how it ended. When was your last relationship and how did it end? Okay, we don't have to get like super into the weeds of like what actually happened there.
Yeah, like there's a casual way to ask this
there's
question.
a very and there's a way to give an answer that is like you're giving information, you're also taking some accountability where accountability needs to be taken, right? And you're kind of wrapping it up in a pretty little bow.
Yeah, I love when a guy's like, "Oh, my ex was crazy." I'm like, "Oh
No,
my God."
see that
eye
can't-
roll.
But like, okay, is there a reality where sometimes that could be true?
For sure.
But how do you communicate that?
Exactly.
It's like, oh, she was.
Like if you're calling your ex-girlfriend like a woman crazy to another woman, like
You
you
need
are
to-
so
well,
dumb.
You got to give facts though.
Yeah.
And you got to explain how you learned from what happened. What happened to you? Did you go to therapy because of it? And kind of like, and like I said, wrap it up in a bow that's like, you could understand, okay, this girl does sound crazy, but he actually does sound like he
knows what's up.
He knows
like,
what's up
Yeah,
and he
like it was a
communicated it the right way.
tumultuous relationship. There was some unhealthy, like toxic things that were happening with her, and I just had to like let it go. Versus
Right.
like she was fucking crazy.
Yes, no, it can't just
So
be
immature.
No, it can't be that. 3 to 5 year plan. What's your vision for your life for the next 3 to 5 years? And just see, like, 'cause if you ask me that, I'm like, oh, I'm trying to build this business and blah 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 blah. Oh, and then like, yeah, maybe get married, right? Versus I want a family, like, and
Yeah.
then talking about the work thing. It's just seeing how he unconsciously prioritizes what he's looking for. Any man who is intentionally dating, one of the first answers he's going to give is that, like, I'm looking for a serious relationship. Like, I'm dating intentionally. And this guy will have no problem. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to have serious, tough conversations early on. It's like, these aren't serious, tough conversations. If you're dating intentionally, asking about my past relationship, I should be prepared to tell you that because I also want to know yours.
I just think women enable men a lot, and so
Yes.
they try to like fill in the gaps. So like if a guy, for instance, didn't say like they were looking for a relationship, in my head, like naturally, I think I'd be like, oh well, he obviously didn't want to say that because like didn't want to like be weird or come
Right.
on too strong.
Right.
And I think it's about realizing that like men just say what they mean and they mean what they say, and
Yeah.
they like are very straightforward. Women
Yeah.
are not.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the like work with dating, I think for women is trying to just accept that like men do not think like us.
No, it's that we're different. A healthy masculine guy can think a little bit more like you, but we're still different in how we kind of like approach life. And like I said, there's this overarching umbrella of attraction going on too. So a guy is trying to sit in his most attractive essence, if
Yeah.
you will.
Yeah.
So like that's also at play. You
Yeah.
know? And the last one.
Oh yeah. Good
Passion
choice.
and purpose in life. Is he happy with what he does? Okay.
So important.
Does he love his life? No one's perfect, but like, does he love his life? Does he love what he does? And like I said earlier about daddy energy man, is he living a life doing for others, not just like a selfish, money hungry goal, right?
Yeah.
Or if that's the case, like, so maybe his job makes really good money. What is he doing on the side that's filling his inner happiness?
Totally. I feel like purpose is so important because I'm so purpose driven too. And it actually
Right.
like gives me anxiety when I date people who like, I can tell that, and it's not, I don't mean this in a bad way, but like I can tell that they will like make me their personality. I'm like, you need to have something like, I want to be a priority.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I want to be up there, but like, I need you to have like a life. Like I can't
Yeah.
be getting a text from a guy on a Tuesday at like 11:30 saying like, hey, what are you doing? Like, what do you mean it's a Tuesday at 11:30? Like I'm working. Why are you not working?
Yeah, sure.
Because it's different if it's like your boyfriend and he's like, hey,
Yes,
checking
yes,
in.
100%.
But like
Totally
when you
different.
just start dating someone, this happened to me last year. Like I went on a couple dates, barely knew this person. Like
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
beginning. And he texts me like, hey, like what are you doing at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday? And I'm like, oh my God, like you don't like love what you do every day. Like you don't
Sure.
have purpose.
Yeah. Yes. It's very important. Not every guy is going to love what they're doing as far as their job, but like, are they utilizing a skill set that they
Yeah.
love to do, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm a people person. Maybe he's in sales. All right, so he's utilizing that skill and can get some good fulfillment from that. Like not
Totally.
every person's going to have their dream job. We have to just acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But like he needs to be happy with his life. A man can't make you happy if he's not happy.
Totally.
So it's important.
You talk about how like relationships are mirrors and like that's how you continue to grow and can show up, right?
Yeah.
What was like your mirror moment?
Oh, it's really good. That's a great question. Get it to me.
Like give me some of the dirt.
I tell when I do my coaching calls, like I'll talk about myself a lot because I think it's important context. Like the first thing I'll say to people is like, I am not Mr. Perfect, right? So if you're looking at me as this perfect embodiment of a man, I'm still not perfect. I know what I'm working on, and that's that. I would say my biggest thing is I was more of like that fixer, people pleaser personality type, where I want everyone to like me. I've had relationships where like I feel like I'm like the fixer, like I said, and realizing that it's okay to not be perfect and to really be seen for who you are. Like here's a funny example. Like my girlfriend, she like earlier on we were dating, like 2 months in or so. We were already like kind of like committed, but I was kind of cleaning my apartment. I can get messy sometimes, right? So I'm like, oh, I'm cleaning my apartment. We're on a FaceTime. She was like, show me your room. I'm like, no. Like I'm like, no. She's like, no. Like, show me your room. I'm like, I don't want to. But she's like, no, show me. So like, she made me go around my entire apartment and show her the mess, the chaos, and it was a little chaotic at the time. So I showed her and then she goes like, you're a person. You're a regular person. And that really like is such a funny little story.
I love that.
But it really sat with me in a way. I'm like, wow, like I was still accepted not being Mr. Perfect, right? It was like kind of like a big moment. And there's been other moments similar to that throughout our relationship. But I would say like I'm very much like a perfectionist. I love being vulnerable, but there is a layer where with the right person, like they kind of force you to go a little bit deeper into that and to really show up emotionally naked.
Yeah,
right?
Or they call you out like on your shit kind of, because I feel like I'm the same way where like I'm very open and obviously I have like a mental health podcast.
Of course.
But something about like romantic relationships, like being seen in that way is so intense. Like I talk with my therapist all the time about like curated vulnerability.
Right.
And it's not from like a malicious place.
Yes.
It's just like
sometimes
control.
So we need, exactly. It's the same thing. So we need uncurated vulnerability where we're not in control of the conversation.
Totally.
So when we're put on the hot seat and we're being questioned on things, or it's a weird feeling.
Totally.
And like, you got to get used to it. As emotionally intelligent as I am, I wasn't so used to that in a lot of ways. But now I consciously know that, and I've been working on it. I've also been someone who I would rather make sure that you're so happy than address that I might not be happy with something going on in the relationship or just in general. Like I'd rather just like kind of suppress, like I said, men do, suppress the feelings to take care of you, right? A lot of guys do that. I do that. So realizing like I could still care for somebody and address my own needs at the same time.
Yeah, because then you get resentful.
Then you unintentionally get resentful.
Yes, you give, and then you have this expectation.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, love isn't supposed to have expectation in this way. I mean, it has, standards.
Of course.
But it's not supposed to have expectations. And I think I've really had to unlearn that too. And even like in the way of like meeting friends and new people, I've had to like sit in the uncomfortable of like surface level conversation.
Right.
Because to me, I think control is very much like, okay, trauma dump on me.
Yeah.
Like I need to figure out who you are, what you're about. And instead I've gotten used to kind of sitting in, like the triggered state of like, okay, like this is surface level. Like I can't see them clearly.
Yeah.
So like if I want to see them clearly, I'm going to have to let them see me a little bit clearly.
For vulnerability, like you have to be willing to give.
Yeah.
But there's layers to vulnerability, right? There's the top layer, which would be, oh, let me tell you about my ex-girlfriend or my ex-boyfriend and those patterns, right?
Yeah.
The layer below that would be like, let me get into like some deep family things, right? The layer below that is, what's the core wound? What's the real thing? What's the thing you're ashamed about? Like what are you really scared of? And opening up about how like that has kind of manifested itself in different ways That's the real vulnerability. You're not going to say that on a first date,
No.
but that's something that like you work your way from the top down with the right person. But you have to be willing to even start somewhere to get that back from somebody to see if they're willing to do it. And then you could be in a healthy relationship coming out of that.
I'm so glad you said that. I think it's so good. What is something you feel like men really want women to understand about dating that they just don't? I mean, you get so many messages from so many women. What do you think it is that men are just like, oh my God, if women just understood this, they would have us so much easier?
That dating for men isn't any easier. Dating for men, the majority of men feel like they're invisible.
That's so interesting because I do feel like women feel like men like don't care about rejection because they're so used to it. And
no,
like,
it's not true.
And women are so like much more scared of rejection because they're like, girls aren't used to putting themselves out there like guys are. Men are just as scared.
Exactly. Minus because we have to separate the top, let's just say 5% of men versus the masses.
Totally.
Right? Just because a guy is in the top 5%, like, well, it depends. Like, what are you qualifying as the top 5%? I would argue a guy who's tall, handsome, makes a lot of money, that doesn't mean he's going to be a great partner. It means he's in the attraction umbrella. He's very attractive. But the right partner for you is going to be a guy who maybe is 5'9", 5'10", loves what he does. Maybe he's for example, like maybe he's a high school science teacher. Like, I don't know, loves teaching kids, like loves it. Is 5'9", has a great relationship with his family, wants to be better. Maybe wants to go back to school and like get a doctorate and be a college professor one day, has a vision, is super family oriented. Like,
it's so funny how this like over 6 foot thing started. Like, I don't understand
I think
it.
I'm 6'3", so I'm tall.
Like,
so like, I don't know the experience.
No, it's like but interesting though that like some women die on this hill. Like,
it's a really stupid hill to die on.
It's stupid.
But it's something that we can't control. Attraction is hard because it's like we're fighting this primitive wiring.
Totally.
But the difference between men and women is that, and this is important for women to understand, a man's immediate attraction level to you will not change, right? So it's like, I look at you, I think you're this attractive in my mind, and that's pretty fixed. What comes out of your mouth, if you're like really not, if you're really dumb, maybe it could be a little worse, but maybe not. Honestly, I just might then put you in casual.
I feel like the one, like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because you're a man, but like, I feel like the one way like it changes for men is if like you are like a bitch or
100%.
crazy, it makes you like less attractive.
Unless they are wounded in a way where they like crazy people.
Yeah.
So like that is a possibility. But like I said, I think women, how a man perceives you attraction wise is always going to stay roughly in the same like 1 or 2 point interval.
Totally.
Where men, you might meet a guy and off the bat you see him across the room and like, oh, he's all right. But then the way he talks to you, the way he treats you, he could skyrocket like 3-4 points up your scale.
Oh, 100%.
But the problem with that is because then you look at dating apps, you guys aren't giving the guys a chance.
I can't do dating apps.
Oh,
I genuinely can't.
I wouldn't think you would.
No, because I think this like happens to me. Like, I get so cringed out like so easily, and I start like judging, not even like attraction, but like, oh my gosh, like, why is he taking a selfie?
I know.
Or like, why is he doing this? And I think if I had met maybe someone out and then I found out he took a selfie after, but I liked him, I'd be like, okay, like, I guess it's fine.
Exactly. So dating apps actually aren't doing men any favors because they don't know how to curate a sexy profile. Or do you want to know who knows how to curate a sexy profile? The fuckboys.
Yeah.
They know how to do that. But like I said, once I start really diving into helping men, I think that's a place where I could tactically really start. It's like, hey, this is what a good profile looks like. That doesn't make you look like a douchebag, and is actually making yourself look attractive.
Well, and you're starting with like making sure that women aren't enabling men, because like if you keep enabling, then like no one feels a need to change. But if all of a sudden all the women are just like their standards are way higher and they're not, accepting these things, men will be like, okay, what the fuck do we do?
Well, I got to do something. Well, that's another trait of a man that's really positive is like not a victim, right? Okay, I'm struggling. Like what I did when I was younger, I'm struggling with women. Who can I seek out to learn about what I should do and not blame women for the problem, right? The internet is very polarizing. We got the men over here, the red pill, women are this and that. And then the women all on this side, men are this and that. The smartest people are in the middle.
Yeah.
And they figure out like, okay, yeah, I've had some bad experiences with women, but there's something I'm doing. Like I'm not being attractive enough. I got to do something without allowing it to affect your character and how you treat people. Like, for example, like if I got broken up with a bunch of times, I wouldn't go and say like, I got to start being a dick now.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, no, like there's something that I need to learn about how to be more attractive. Attraction is like I said, it's the umbrella.
Yeah.
So like that's the package. The deeper stuff is like who you really are as a person. So it's like men, their marketing is wrong. They don't know how to market themselves, but there are a lot of really good guys, but they don't know how to market themselves.
100%. 100%. What do you think is like the biggest red flag that women really miss? I feel like women are not
I got it.
good sometimes at catching red flags. I feel like because I grew up in a very like, again, like I'm very hyper vigilant. So I feel like I clock things like very quickly.
Yeah.
I think I've almost had to work on being less jaded and like giving people like chances to like, you know, show you that they're human and they make mistakes. But what do you think is the biggest red flag that women ignore?
Their inability to really understand when they're being love bombed. Because men who, I was watching this show on Netflix, it's actually a really great true crime show, the Worst Ex Ever.
Oh, yeah.
It?
I've watched them.
So,
they're episodes, right?
Yeah, they're episodes. And I just watched the second season. It's really good. But the commonality between every really bad, dangerous case, it started with a massive love bomb off the bat. A really high chemistry, a really high attraction, and like a smothering, like, I want to see you every day. Where are you? Let's hang out. Let me come over. And a lot of people want to be chosen. So when you feel that chemistry with somebody, you want to lean in really fast. But like the advice I give women and kind of how I talk about vetting and dating actually just came out. I'm coming out with a masterclass next week about all this called Break the Pattern. Check it out.
I'll put it in the description.
That'll be amazing. I always say like the pace should be 1 date per week for the first 3 weeks or so. And then you can start to ramp up because you can't expedite the process of getting to know someone. Anyone could show you anything in the first 2-3 weeks of knowing them and build off that dopamine and that intense rush of exciting feelings. But once that subsides, the mask will come off. So
Totally.
a lot of women end up with guys who, okay, they're not all going to be dangerous. I'm not saying every love bomber is dangerous. A lot of times it's coming from I call it like there's intentional love bombing and unintentional love bombing.
Yeah, sometimes they don't even know
they don't even know they're doing it. But the unintentional love bombing comes from a place of like, I need to show someone so much love and attention or else they're not going to like me.
100%.
So that's coming from like I need to do that to feel loved way. The other way is you're leaning more towards like the narcissistic kind of scale where I know that if I do this, I can get her hooked.
100%.
Right? So you just have to be careful with, I always say you want a man that's healthily obsessed with you. So it's proactive. He's planning dates intentionally. You're hearing from him basically every day in the early stages. You should. If you have a great first date, you should probably be talking every day. But it's like, are you feeling a calm or are you feeling like an anxiety in your body? Like this is moving fast or I want to see them. It should be, instead of chemistry, it's like calm over chemistry.
Totally. Well, I think women have to relearn like what a man being obsessed with them looks like.
Yes.
Because we're taught at such a young age, like the fairy tales, and he'll do all the things for you and he'll like be obsessed with you and he'll tell you he loves you and whatever.
In time, yes.
Yeah.
Not in the first month of knowing you. Because a healthy masculine man understands there's weight to decisions.
Yeah,
right?
and it's not normal.
It's not normal.
It's not normal for someone to like intimately like you. Like even when like I go on a date and a guy's like, even on the second date, if a guy is like kind of intensely like, I really like you, I'm such a bitch. Like I'm like, what do you like about me?
Yeah,
and
right, right. Well, then they would need to explain
because
what
I'm like,
really
you don't like,
Yeah.
you don't know me. Like maybe you will, but you don't. And it's so funny you bring this up because I told someone the other day, like you have to do 1 date a week in the beginning, and they were like, what? Because this girl had gone on like so many dates in a row, and I was like, you're not creating space.
Yes, to miss someone
to like
or even know.
Well, yeah, and also creating space to like let your feelings subdue so that you can see truth.
Yes,
you're like too excited and you can't see like red flags as easily.
Exactly, because we're in the dopamine stage of something new, exciting, and you need the separation and time away to sit with the feeling, sit with the nervous system. We're not meant to like go from 0 to 100 with somebody, especially in today's modern day dating era where we have our phones. It's like the next thing. So a guy might be coming on super hot and heavy really early on, but who's to say in a month from now, I'm bored, and then he leaves. But now you just invested so much into that. coming out of that, you're going to be a lot more hurt. So it's better to go a little slower, which isn't going to feel slow because it's not slow, right?
Yeah,
it's
it's
still
normal.
intentional. It's normal. It's actually
It
normal.
should be normal.
It should be normal. So if you go at that pace, if it breaks off, you're not going to be so emotionally enmeshed in it that, because a lot of people, they get love bombed, it ends, and then they're like, I got to take 3 months off. Like, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. And then you do that. You're only wasting your own time, but you're the one who allowed yourself to get hurt in the first place.
Totally. Well, and we need to start viewing like a real daddy is the guy that like tells you he had a great first date and wants to take you out again, and then a couple days later plans the date for the next week.
Yep.
And then like shows up. Like that is hot. Like it is hot to like have someone who's like grounded and like not like super over the top.
Yes.
Again, love bombing.
You want a man to give you the words of affirmation that he's enjoying getting to know you, he likes you. Like you want to hear that. But there's an appropriate level on the trajectory scale of time that's appropriate, and there's inappropriate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to get good at knowing what that feels like.
Yeah, I've been told a lot that I am picky, quote unquote.
Okay.
And I don't like think being picky. I mean, it's kind of a negative word, but I don't think it's a bad thing.
No.
I think that I view love as something that is rare. And I think like a lot of the, inability to sit in like the uncomfortable of like the dating scene or waiting for someone that's actually right and doesn't show red flags is this like notion that like I need to be in a relationship now. I think women are very much like that. We're taught like your worth comes from like being in a relationship.
Right.
Do you find that to be true in the women that are reaching out to you?
We're looking for the one. There's one person who's gonna behave in the way that is like interest, pursuing. You guys have a connection. We're looking for one, right? So most people are not going to be what you're looking for. So when you're being picky, it's like, yeah, because I'm looking for the one.
Yeah.
Not anyone who's showing me attention. I have to kind of see it through.
Yeah.
So like,
and it's more than love, right?
Right.
I talk
Well,
about that a lot here. Like,
lot.
I feel like we've been sold this idea like, well, I love him, so I have to stay, or I love him, and so I want to fix him, or I love him, so like, this is my person. And it takes so much more than love to be in a relationship.
Life compatibility is huge.
Values, timing.
Timing's huge.
People's willingness to do work on themselves.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into being in a long, committed relationship. I'd say after 4 months or so of being with somebody, like we're official, whatever, from like 4 to 7 months, like that's all right, let's really get into, do we see long-term compatibility here? But you have to be having deep conversations. There's people I work with who are in relationships and they'll be with somebody for 6-8 months. I'm like, all right, so like tell me about XYZ, about his life. I don't know. We don't really like talk about that. Wait, then what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, what are you talking about? So you got to get into the nitty gritty. Sometimes it is asking a hard question. Like, hey, I want to live here. Where do you want to live? Where do you see yourself with a family? I see myself over here. Well, that's probably not going to work then. Right.
Yeah.
So like you have to have certain conversations to determine life compatibility and seeing if it's a good fit.
Well, and I think a lot of women get stuck in the like, well, the more time that goes on, he'll eventually change thing. And have you ever seen he's just not that into you?
Yeah.
The whole like exception thing. And I think that was so powerful for me to learn because I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Like you're not the exception. Like we have to go into situations, specifically as women, taking a man as he is.
You can't look at potential, what he is right now and in all the ways. If you can't say, and you're not falling in love on a first date, but let's say 3-5 dates, and like, I would accept this basically as it is.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to. Could a guy improve in different areas? For sure. But more or less, assume no. Assume no. Would this work for me? And also, like, when we're accepting people, like, we're never going to settle. But I would always say, like, you can't settle for less than yourself. Right? So whatever you would want someone to accept about you and have grace for you, you have to have that equal amount of grace for somebody else.
100%.
So like that's kind of when it comes to settling, that's how I would look at it.
What would your advice be to someone who's maybe been dating someone for a bit? They really need to work on something, whether it's
the
like
person who they're dating is working on something.
Like their mental health. They love this person. They're healthy, let's say, but like there is something obvious that is like popping up in this person's behavior that alludes to the fact that they need to do some work on themselves. How long do you give someone to like work on themselves? Because I do think women are like, okay, well, like he's human, like he's going through a hard time, he needs to work on this. But also like it's been a while and I like don't deserve this.
If you see no actions taken after a few months and you see in the repeated pattern of what he's been doing to you or whatever keeps continuing, you kind of got to cut it out that maybe 3 months. But
I agree.
It kind of depends on what it is.
No, I agree. Because I do think, again, like women feel like committed to fixing. They're like, this is my partner. I have to like, I'm sure there are men like this too.
Yes.
But I do think like when you're in a relationship, you're like, well, I have to stick it out with this person. And I think at the end of the day, like if people aren't willing to do the work for them, like why would they do it for you?
Exactly. But I would also say women's time is more valuable than a man's time. We're different, right? A man, like women, if you're looking for a family, you have a mental timeline. A lot of women do, right? So then be ruthless with your time. That doesn't make you a bad person or a not caring person to be ruthless with your time. Men are natural time wasters. So if you're allowing men to, like a man who's not doing the work, to waste more of your time, I mean, I'm not saying don't see someone through a challenge in their life, but you have to be getting what you need to be willing to sit through that challenge with somebody.
100%.
So like if you're really, if he's getting this and you're getting this and he's not working on himself and you're still not then it's the balance isn't there. It's a partnership. Relationship is a partnership. So if you're not getting your end of the bargain, more times than not, there might be times you have to pick up the slack. Other times he picks up the slack. But if you're always picking up the slack, then it's not a healthy relationship.
100%. What age do you think, like me and my friends always talk about this, like what is the like ideal age you think that a man is like mature, has done some work and is like really looking for that relationship and is mature enough? Because I feel like, I mean, I know there's not one size fits all, but I do think like I'll hear a girlfriend be like, oh yeah, like I'm going on a date with this guy. He's like 28.
I would say what a man does between 30 and 35 says a lot about how they view relationships and their life. Because you go past that, if a guy hasn't done the work or isn't looking to be in intentional relationships, people get fixed in who they are. Even it's like stones, like the concrete. It's like starting to cement. And if a guy's 39 years old and has never really been in serious relationships, a lot of guys think, oh, he's going to change, or no. He's
made a decision.
He's made a decision for his life. Like, could he? Of course. Like, yeah, I'm not saying it's not impossible. But I would say what a guy does between 30 and 35 is a really good indicator of how he views the timeline of his life. Like, in my opinion, men should have a timeline, right? Like, I don't know why these guys think, oh, I'll wait till I'm 40 years old and then I could find this hot 27.
There's men that are like having kids at like 60 and
no,
70.
but my point is like, you think like you're short, bald, and fat. You think you're gonna find this smoking hot 28-year-old when you're 40 years old? No, dude, you're delusional. Like, you look your best. But you gotta be taking care of yourself. So like, these are things I would tell men. But it's like, men who have that mindset of like, oh, I'll just, I'll wait till I'm 40 and then I'll date seriously. It's like, there's no guarantee you're going to find that person when you're that age.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee. So like, I think a man that has a mental timeline of some sorts of like, yeah, I want to be a dad somewhere between 30 and 35. Like, that feels like a guy worth giving the time to.
Well, it's hot to think. Like, a guy that has thought it out and has been self-aware, like, that should be hot. It should be unattractive if someone's like, well, I don't know.
Right. Yes. You want a guy that at least has been thinking about these things.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I have like rapid fire questions for you. I'm like,
this has been a great conversation. I love this.
I know. I'm so happy that you came on.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Okay, something you brought up on your page, and I loved what you said. It was like, if a man says like, I don't deserve you, you're too good for me, to run. Explain. Is this like the love bombing stuff, or is there something deeper?
Yes, it's coming from the same place as that unintentional love bomber, where they might come on hot and heavy, and then they'll start saying things like that because the mask flips. So they're using the love bombing to kind of get you attached. But then the wounded side starts to come out the more you get to know them. Because usually a guy's not going to say that really early on. They're usually going to say that after like a month or two of like developing into a relationship. And then you start to kind of see some incongruencies, like, oh, like he's actually not doing that well with his job, or he's kind of like a mess in some ways, or maybe he's drinking a little too much. And then that's when they'll start to be like, oh, I'm not good enough for you, or I don't deserve you. You're too good for me. Because I have literally never uttered such words in my life.
Yeah,
like,
no.
It's just a really degrading thing to say about yourself. So if I'm willing to verbalize that sentence to a woman, then there's so much work that needs to be done there.
Well, because I think like women, again, like have been taught like a man who like is obsessed with you, like does this. We need to reframe, like you should want someone that's like confident enough to believe that they are worthy of love and being with you.
Exactly. And if we don't work out, I'm going to miss you immensely, but I could go out and find somebody else.
Yeah.
Like obviously you wouldn't want to if you're in a serious relationship, you love the person, but knowing like, no, I could still go out and find somebody else. Like
Yeah.
I'll heal and I'll take my time and I could do it again. Not like, I don't deserve you, I need you so bad. Like it's actually not romantic. It's kind of weird.
How can we attract the man that we deserve? I know you talk about like divine counterparts and like I think this is your stuff on your content when you talk about like how if you want a guy obsessed with you and you want to find your divine counterpart, you have to be obsessed with yourself.
Yeah. It really starts by, like I said, diving into the patterns of your past relationship, figuring out what that core wound of yours is, and being really willing to share that. Like I had a coaching call with somebody the other day, and we were talking like tactically about like what she should be doing, and I started asking some deeper questions, and then we kind of got even deeper and deeper, started talking about like her past and like her like family situation, and she got really emotional, and I'm like, that's it right there. Your overall happiness and abundance for life and your joy, and like we could put band-aids over things. I think a lot of people put band-aids over things.
100%.
But like you got to get to what that is, and getting into that radical acceptance of it, and then building from that place of like loving that part of yourself too. Like we all have the shadow part of ourselves and whatnot, and like loving that and realizing I'm not perfect, but I still deserve love and I deserve happiness, and building a positive life on top of that, that will attract a man who has done a similar journey. There are men who do it, and like women, I say in relationships, women's role is more of that like emotional connector. So like you want a guy that's done a lot of work, but like you will have to bring some stuff out of him too.
Yeah.
But like what he does for you is he gives you like the safety of the commitment and being taken care of and the natural protector provider thing. So it's like, that's kind of like the partnership that it kind of circles around. You want to feel really accepting of who you are. Once you truly do that and you literally say, I'm cool with being completely seen, totally emotionally naked, like I am willing to show everyone or anyone that side of me, that's when you'll start to find the person.
I feel like we talk here a lot about how like being your most unapologetic self is like actually being able to look at yourself deeply in the mirror and like address your shit. I think like the wounds thing, a lot of that in dating is just like you're perpetuating your own misery. You're perpetuating your past.
Right.
And so the moment that you can like accept this stuff, I do think you become more obsessed with yourself. And I think when you hear like obsessed with yourself, you picture like the girl on TikTok that's like so, but
I
it
love
can
my
look
life.
yes, but I think it can look different for everyone. And I think like for me, to your point, it's like just acceptance, like not being angry about the past, not being ashamed of the things that have come from it. I mean, the example of you showing your room, it's like just being able to be like, this is it, and like I'm weak in some areas, and that's okay.
100%. That's exactly what it's about.
I love that.
Radical acceptance for all the parts of you, and knowing that someone's gonna accept that and love that.
Yeah. Okay, once a cheater, always a cheater. What do we think?
I tend to agree.
Me too.
I agree. The only instance I'll say maybe I would give someone some grace is if we're in a really horrible relationship and then the girl, like, she goes out to the bar, she's like, oh, I need to break up with this guy, blah, 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 blah. She meets some cool guy, she makes out with him, and then breaks up with her boyfriend the next day.
Yes.
Like, I've heard a lot of cases of that, or a guy does that, women does that. If that's the case, you know what? Okay.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, I can understand.
Like, you should have broken up.
You should have done it before that, but some people need a little catalyst to make the decision. It's not right, but it is what it is. As long as they did it that next day, I can give you grace for that one. But other than that, I do tend to agree. Once a cheater, always a cheater.
I feel like, again, there are exceptions probably, but like I would say for the most part, I just think if someone's willing to lie and like live a double life, it's like more about like lying and like your violation of conscience.
You don't have a good sense of morals. Yeah,
because integrity, I would say, is like integrity and self-discipline are probably like the things I look for the most in men.
That's
because
great.
I do think that like cheating is like, obviously it's like morally wrong, right? But I do think like a lot of women think that like men like choose to not be attracted to other women and like that's how they don't cheat. But really, I think it's about discipline. It's like having the discipline to know like, okay, that girl at this work conference is going to be trouble for me, so I'm going to stay away from her because I love my girlfriend, wife, and like I never want to cheat.
It's, as a man, you should find confidence in like to be the guy that all the women want, but you want her. That's my girl.
Yeah.
You like make other women jealous of your girl.
Like you're making a choice to be disciplined and stay true in your relationship.
Yes. And as a man, when you do that, that actually builds inner confidence of like, I am disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
I'm disciplined to my integrity, what I want, to my partner. Like, it's just, I would recommend more men not giving into the lust, right? I mean, look at our phones nowadays. Like, there's so much scrolling lust, and it's probably as hard as it's ever been for men to avoid that. So, like, you want a man who's actively avoiding it at all costs.
Yeah,
basically.
like knows himself enough to know his weaknesses and the ways that he needs to stay disciplined. If that means like, because some men, I think like their phone isn't a problem.
Right.
Other men maybe are like, no, you know what? I can't follow women on Instagram like this. Like that's not good or healthy for me. And I think you can see this in first dates like very quickly when people talk about like their routines and like the promises they keep to themselves. I've noticed that about men. Like I always look for like, wow, he's like putting up boundaries even with like me. Like if I'm like, oh, I want to hang out on Tuesday. And if he's like, oh no, sorry, like I have this and that, can we do this? I'm like, oh, that's hot that you didn't like move your life around. You're disciplined.
It's true.
Thank you so much for coming on. I have so many questions. We're going so long now.
This has been awesome. Like
we
got to do a part 2, or next time you're here, you should come on my show. Or
I would love that. I think it would be great. I'm like, amazing. As the single girl, I'm not sure. I mean, I can talk to like women's struggles.
No, I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna talk about you a little bit.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah, we should do it.
We should do it.
It would be really epic.
It'll be really fun.
If you were to just leave women with like one, I don't know, like piece of hope and advice. I think a lot of women are really sad about their dating life. They're really struggling. If there's someone listening who's like, it's actually impacting their mental health, that they haven't found their person yet, like what would you say to them?
Yeah. The one thing I've learned through everything I'm doing is that we are all the same. All humans, we want companionship, we want connection, and the internet is trying to drive us all apart. There's so many people who want those basic things. And if you can envision a life where you have that amazing partner, you have a family, if you can envision that and you feel that in your heart that that's meant for you, it is meant for you. Every person we date, every failed experience, you're exactly where you're supposed to be for a reason. So you need to look at what am I supposed to be learning and how am I supposed to be growing in this moment right now, because that's why I'm here. And you will get the relationship, you will find the partner when it's meant for you.
Yeah.
So you have to just radically accept that part of the journey, because it's why we're here. You know, like you're not going to find somebody when you're in a pessimistic, low vibrational mindset. You're just not. Or if you do, you're going to find someone equal, right? If we want that divine, amazing relationship, you have to accept where you are right now, look inward, see what's the journey that I need to be on right now. I'm meant to be here for a reason, and embark on that and love the process, love your life. And go out and dating. A lot of people are like, I need to find my person. Where's my husband? I need him. I need to find it. Like, love is about giving, right? So you want to fill your cup up where I have so much love to give. I want to give it just for the sake of giving with no expectation.
Yeah.
And we can really get into that mindset with the healing journey and all that combined. That is when you're going to be loving life. You're going to have fun with dating, and the person's going to manifest into your life.
Well, I think women are also just so scared to be alone that they end up settling. And like, what's scarier? Is it scarier to be alone, or is it scarier to like get in this, toxic relationship where it doesn't even have to be toxic, a relationship where you don't actually like really love this person long term, and then 10 years later,
Divorce,
you're alone.
Right.
Like you're just going to end up alone
anyway.
anyway.
You end up alone anyway.
I think like not rushing is so important.
Absolutely. That's what I preach.
Okay, last question. I ask everybody who's been on the podcast, looking back at everything you've been through, like the ups and downs of like your own healing and like identifying of wounds and the dating. And I know you just said you have a girlfriend. So like looking back at all of that, like how do you see it? How do you see it all?
It all happened the way it was supposed to happen. That's how I see it. I think if anything was different along my journey, I wouldn't be in the place where I am right now to be able to connect to people and help people the way that I do.
Yeah.
And I would say even the last like 4-6 months, I've really leaned into doing things with the purpose of really helping. And every conversation I'm in, I'm super locked into like, how could I help this person make this person's life better, provide that perspective. So I think looking back, it's like everything that I went through, positive, negative, was meant to bring me where I am today, to do what I do. And I'm loving that process.
I love that. I know. I feel like we're so me. We forget
We
sometimes
have
that
to shift out of that.
Yeah, because I do think it keeps us negative, and I do think it keeps us
because
like
it's never ending.
perpetuating.
It's because it's an ego-driven
Yeah,
thought
we're
process.
perpetuating our own misery, and like if you're so focused on the things you don't have, I mean, of course you're negative. So I think it's so important to like go outward, think more about others. Please share where everybody can find you, or they can follow you, and I'll put your like masterclass in the details as well.
Oh, awesome! Thank you. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Niko Eman, Nikoeman. My TikTok's The Daddy Academy. The YouTube channel, The Daddy Academy. On Spotify, The Daddy Academy. And yeah, I got a masterclass coming out next week called Break the Pattern, where basically I talk about everything we talked about here, plus like the vetting journey of how to go from a first date to a full-blown relationship. And if you want to work with me one-on-one through that masterclass, or shoot me a DM and we could set up some calls.
Yay, thanks, Niko.
Thank you. This has been great.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope you leave here feeling motivated and inspired. Do not forget to rate and review the pod on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And don't forget to follow How I See It Pod so you can keep up with podcast updates and see who's coming on next. And if you're not already, come join the fam and follow at How Han Sees It. Thank you guys.